Today, I want to share my heart with you. I'm going to be sharing with you a portion of what I did as a podcast episode last year, but it's so important that I wanted to turn it into a video here on our YouTube channel. The day that this video comes out, it will be January 1st of 2021. The new year is here. And for most people, anything that's new evokes a measure of excitement with possibilities, especially a new year, and especially after 2020, the year that we've had, right? But for those of us who've had to face the darkness of the death of our child, new can bring almost a panicked feeling as if we're leaving our child behind. And this especially applies to the new year for those who have lost their child within this past year. I remember as we were heading into the new year, 2 months after my daughter Becca died, I was horrified at the thought of leaving her behind. It felt like I was going into a new year without her. It was like another finality of her death that I just wasn't ready to accept. I felt almost terrified that I couldn't stop 2012 from coming, which meant I would no longer be in the same year that I had last shared with my daughter. I know I don't have to explain it to those of you who have lost a child. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and it's not going to make sense to someone who hasn't lost a child. My thought was, who can possibly celebrate the future when my daughter's not going to be there in it? It just, well, like I said, I don't have to explain it to you. That whole saying, out with the old and in with the new, that was not something exciting to me. It was something that just almost brought this panicky, horrifying feeling to me. God knew that. He knew how heavy my heart was. He knew I didn't want to continue with anything new. He knew I wasn't ready to let go in a way that would allow me to see hope in a future without my daughter, Becca. He knew that I was in deep, suffocating grief, and it didn't shake his faithfulness to me one bit. As I closed myself in with him day after day, crying buckets of tears and sharing my hurt and my pain with him, he sat with me. He stayed with me in all of my sobbing, ugliness, confusion, and depression. And in my moments of brokenness, when I wanted to hear what he had to say that would bring me a measure of healing to my completely shattered heart, he was always there, ready to comfort me and speak peace to me in different ways. Sometimes it would be through a song that came on the radio, or maybe on my CD player that I kept running 24/7. Sometimes it might have been a chapter in the Bible, or it may have been just a few words of a verse that I read, because sometimes I would pick up his word and search for help. And I know for some of you watching, you just can't do that, and that's okay. Sometimes that comfort or that peace would come through an act of kindness from a family member or a friend, or maybe even a complete and total stranger that knew nothing about me and what I was dealing with. But most of the time, it was just a still small voice that spoke to my heart as I just sat in my brokenness. I spent a lot of time journaling. I wrote my scrambled thoughts and I asked him questions. And quite often, I found myself writing down what I would hear God speaking to me in my heart in answer to those questions. And I share a lot of that in my book, When Tragedy Strikes. I'll put a link to that below if you want to find out more about the book. But something I came to realize in a much deeper way during that time than ever before is that God isn't just out there somewhere, but he's actually inside of me. Because I've invited Jesus to be Lord of my life, the Spirit of God dwells in me. And I don't have to wait for God to come to me from somewhere out there. I can quiet myself and listen to his still small voice from inside of me, speaking the peace and the comfort that I need. And whatever I needed, whatever I need today, even still, he's already inside of me to meet that need. And the amazing thing is that he's also at the exact same time, he is sitting on his throne. So we can come boldly to the throne of our gracious God to receive his mercy and to find help in our time of desperate need. We can find that verse in Hebrews 4:16. I want to share just a couple scriptures that have also helped me in continuing to move forward. The first one is Philippians 3:13 and 14. And it says, "Brothers, I do not regard myself as having laid a hold of it yet, but one thing I do, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus." Now let's talk about this, because this verse does not say that we are forgetting and leaving our children behind us. That will never happen. It's absolutely impossible. God knows that. But I see it as an encouragement to press on toward the goal, to me, which is to learn how to live a full and meaningful life again. And I know, especially if you're in the beginning time of your grief, that seems impossible. You may feel like that's great for you, Laura, but that's not going to happen for me. And let me assure you that we all felt that way. We all felt like maybe some of you were able to live again and figure out how to do this, but I don't think I ever can or I ever will. And that's okay if you feel that way. When it talks about the prize of the upward call, I think of that as being in eternity with him and with my child and with others I love who are patiently waiting for me when it's my turn to join them. Let me share another scripture with you. 2 Corinthians 4:18 says, "We fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." And I am so thankful for this. And I constantly remind myself that this world is only temporary. What a relief, right? Since the time of going into that first year without my daughter, I've come to learn that the word new doesn't have to fill our hearts with dread and sadness, like going into the new year. That doesn't mean we don't struggle going into a new year at all. And as we go along, some years can be harder than others for no apparent reason. I do want to say that we have to be honest with ourselves in whether we want to get past this part of our grief. As we know, there are so many reasons, and they're not going to make sense to people who haven't lost a child, that deep down cause us to be afraid to take steps toward hope and light and living a life of purpose and meaning and fulfillment. The two most common reasons are that we feel guilty for even wanting to enjoy life again, and we're afraid that we're leaving our child behind by moving forward without them. And to help you with that, I want to give three quick suggestions to move you in a direction of seeing things with a slightly different view. First, we aren't just facing a new year, but it's a new month. And a new month often brings new weather. And because this is January, it means we're moving towards spring. We've hit the shortest day of the year. The days are getting longer, and I know we just hit winter, but that means spring is coming. Those of us who live in the cold northern states, we really appreciate this. I know how winter makes everything look so dead, especially depending on where we live, and it can really affect our mood. But it is just a season, and new life always returns, no matter how harsh or how long the winter has been. We just passed the winter solstice, like I said, the shortest day of the year. That means the time of darkness is decreasing. The time of the darkness of your grief will also be decreasing. Maybe not right away, but it will. So this time of year can be actually a wonderful reminder that no matter how long or how deep into darkness our grief has taken us, spring is coming at some point with new life and new hope. The second thing is that a new year brings new opportunities. Some of you may not see that as a good thing. but it does bring opportunities to do something different that will possibly take away some of the sting. If you know something is going to be difficult, if you know this is so difficult heading into this new year, maybe ask yourself what you can do differently that will help. Maybe you can change the focus from dwelling on your painful loss to thinking about your child's gain, and do what you can to picture them in heaven and what it's like for them there. If you have to maybe go to an event that you're dreading and it's just really hard to be able to get out of it, find a way that you can bring your child with you into that event, especially if it's something family related or friends who knew your child and know what you're going through, that you're grieving the death of your child, and have others celebrate your child's life with you for a moment. There are a lot of ways to do that. I actually wrote a blog about that, about a lot of different suggestions and ways that you can bring your child into an event with you so that others can celebrate their life with you. If you want to read that, I will put a link to that below so you can read that blog. So it does bring, a new year does bring new opportunities to move toward a healing that allows you to learn how to live in hope and light, and even eventually move forward to meaning and purpose again. Like I said, you may think that's impossible, but those of us who thought it was impossible, also, we're here to encourage you that it isn't. The third thing is when we dread going forward because we feel like it's taking us further away from our child who's left this earth, is I found myself struggling so deep with that horrific thought of feeling like I was getting further and further away from Becca. I mean, I would just almost panic. And I know those of you who have been connected to GPS Hope, you hear me say this a lot, but sometimes one time it will finally click, no matter how many times we've heard it. And there are a lot of you, unfortunately, who've never heard this. So as I was really struggling in this area, just like almost getting panic attacks of thinking about getting 5 years, 10 years, 20 years away from Becca, I asked God to help me by giving me his thoughts and his perspective. I had to have help because I couldn't live that way. And he graciously showed me that the truth is actually something totally different from what I had in my thoughts. What he spoke to my heart was that every day I live on this earth, it actually brings me closer to my own departure and closer to Becca, not further away from her. Wow, that truth set me free. And I still have moments where I think those thoughts, and they can still make me cry to think it's been that long since I've been able to tell her I love her, give her a hug, hear her laugh. I mean, I can still sob about that, but I'm not overwhelmed by them, as I now believe a truth that's deeper than my pain of missing her. I am getting closer to her, not further away from her. You know, I would love it if you would write in the comments below this YouTube video, something like my child, you can put their name, say their name, is in my future. Becca is in my future. So a new year brings us that much closer to seeing our children again. Yes. New is a word that can mean hope. A new year can bring new hope and new light, new life, and new possibilities. It's so hard for me to believe. It just boggles my mind, but I'm actually in my 10th new year without Becca. God has continued to comfort me and strengthen me, putting the pieces of my heart back together in a way that I'm complete, but at the same time, I'm forever broken as long as I'm here on this earth. And I'm okay with that because I'm 1 year closer to being with my daughter, Becca, forever. I hope these thoughts have helped at least a little bit in crossing over into a new year. Like I said, this is part of what I shared in a previous podcast in 2019. You'll find a link below to the episode if you want to hear the whole thing. If you want to know when the next video comes out, they're not usually this long. They're usually only like 4 to 6 minutes. And a lot of times I will answer an email that has come into me with a question from a bereaved parent. But go ahead and subscribe to this channel so you'll know when the next video comes out. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone. I'm Laura Diehl, speaker, author, and a grieving parent sharing hope. You can find more support and resources at gpshope.org.